And now a new survey from the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research reveals that 3/4 of Palestinians are satisfied with Hamas and its tactics. Hamas received a 75% satisfaction rating from respondents, a 5-point increase since March. Over 80% of Palestinians believe the October 7th attack brought the Palestinian issue back into regional and international focus after years of neglect. And about 2/3 of respondents thought Hamas was right to launch the attack. The survey polled 1,570 Palestinian adults in Gaza and Judea and Samaria between May 26th and June 1st. And joining us now to discuss these findings, we have our editor-in-chief, Maayan Hoffman, who has been following PCP-SR polls for several years. Welcome, Maayan.
Thanks for having me.
So what's your overall take on this new poll?
Look, Lidar, you highlighted a lot of really important data already as you introduced the survey, but there is so much more that is in the survey that I think is important. And the number one thing is that nearly half of the Palestinians believe that Hamas is going to win this war. There's a really strong belief that they're going to stay in power when Israel leaves Gaza. And I think that's actually striking because if you look at it, more than half of Gazans and 2/3 in the West Bank say they would actually prefer that Hamas be the one to stay in power over any other scenario. And that's important. It's important for a few reasons. Number one is because if you think about it, there's no day after plan right now, or at least not one that we know of. And so the day after plan is being built by Hamas and being built by the Palestinians, and they're saying Hamas is our day after plan. Number two, if you look at the survey, there is very little support for the Palestinian Authority. The United States has repeatedly said it plans to helicopter in some version of the Palestinian Authority, maybe a repaired or a better version of the Palestinian Authority. But right now, 85% of Palestinians polled in this survey said that they are dissatisfied with the PA, and 90% want President Mahmoud Abbas to resign. So when you look at that, and what's even more striking, and I didn't really see this highlighted, but if you start to go through the very extensive survey, you also will find that 75% of the Palestinians polled actually said they are also not at all open to any kind of Arab peacekeeping force, meaning that these ideas of bringing in from the UAE or Bahrain or some other Arab entity, Egypt, Jordan, to help maintain security, the Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank are not interested in that scenario.
So that's some very interesting statistics. I mean, do you think that it's because the Palestinians believe they're winning, believe that Hamas will eventually emerge victorious, that they're able to make these kinds of statements? I mean, nearly 9 months since October 7th, with all the destruction that Israel's caused in Gaza, are we still seeing such a hardline stance? It's interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the reality is that we are, and it actually plays into the hands in some ways of the Palestinians, of the Gazans, when we go in and we just flatten Gaza. It builds a narrative for them, right? They're winning the narrative war. We look like we're causing a humanitarian crisis. That helps them. And as you said in the beginning, it brings them to the forefront. People are saying, oh, we care now about the Palestinian issue. But there's also more. There is actually an increase in the number of Palestinians who are interested in an armed struggle. In fact, an 8% increase from just a survey that was released 3 months before. And that means that nearly 1/3 of Palestinians are actually saying they believe in the armed struggle. And if you start to unpack that, the other thing that you will see when the data starts to break down is that the majority of those who are interested in this armed struggle are actually located not in Gaza, but in the West Bank. And what that actually means is that they're not getting flattened, right? They're not living in Gaza. Their homes aren't being destroyed. So they're becoming more and more radicalized. We have 500,000 Israelis, almost, living in Judea and Samaria. And what that means is that there could at some point be some kind of uprising, another October 7th, God forbid, or something similar, coming out on yet another front. You spoke today, we're fighting in Gaza. We're fighting on the north, the West Bank, Judea and Samaria is yet the third front.
And is there, a solution to any of this? I mean, really, it seems kind of like an impossible situation that we're seeing.
Well, if we had the solution, I think we would all be very happy today. But of course, we don't know what the solution is. But what I can tell you is this. I think that, number one, we are seeing that Hamas is kind of coming toward the idea of a ceasefire. We did have some statements today by Hania that were indicating that perhaps he would be interested in discussing the ceasefire agreement that the United States has put forward. So there is a little hope on that front. But the other side is if you have to look at this concept of a two-state solution. You've got the Americans, you've got countries around the world, the United Nations, supporting the idea that we will have some kind of two-state solution when this ends. But the truth of the matter is that for more than a decade, the Israelis have actually not been supportive of a two-state solution. Mainly, they do not agree that there is a partner for peace. And now on the other side, what you find in this poll is that there is a drastic decrease in the number of Palestinians who are interested in a two-state solution as well. In fact, there was a 30% decrease in just the Gazans that were polled alone. So anything more than a ceasefire, slim to none.
Very interesting statistics. Thank you, Maayan, for this analysis.
Thank you.